Hey everybody, my name is Nick Cordy, also known as Network Nerd in the community. I want to welcome you to the SpiceCorps of Dallas-Fort Worth. This is the Spiceworld pregame show. Interestingly enough, we have some special guests here. If you want to share, if you want to be on video, you can be on video. If you want to be a person with just a name, you can do that too. We'll have time for interactive Q&A, all the good stuff. But first, I always like to talk about what SpiceCorps is. So this SpiceCorps group has two leaders, myself and Brian Watson. Hey, Brian, you want to say hi? Introduce yourself.
Hola.
Hola. Brian actually started this group many years ago, 2008, 2009. Is that about right, Brian?
Many moons ago, yeah.
Many moons ago, back when we were younger. But it actually stemmed from the first Spiceworld, which is what we're here to talk about. People wanted to meet up in their local area and talk about the Spiceworks help desk platform and be part of the community. And it kind of spanned into all sorts of different technical topics. So we talk about all kinds of things under the umbrella, under the IT umbrella. It could be anything from physical security to endpoint security to, what public cloud should I use? All the things. So if you want to join us, feel free to join us here. Make sure that I know who you are. Make sure Brian and I know who you are to give you points for attending tonight. And if you haven't joined a SpiceCorps, definitely look to do that. So special guests. Number one, the one and only Jimmy T. You want to say hi, Jimmy? Introduce yourself.
Hello, everybody. So, my name is Jimmy Tassin. I've been in Spiceworks, I don't know, quite some time now. Started it at a credit union, got introduced to the platform there. And so now I am a solutions engineer at Lumen. So doing some of the similar things that Nick is doing as well. So looking forward to being here.
Awesome. Appreciate that. Special guest number two, Dana Moberly. Hey, Dana, you want to say hi?
Hey, everyone. Pleasure to be here. Dana Moberly. I have been working on Spiceworld since 2015. So this will be my eighth. And yes, I'm doing the math correctly. This will be my eighth Spiceworld. I had the privilege of being at the 2016 Spiceworld in London as well. So I'm just happy to be here. I've never done one of these. And so I'm just thrilled to be here with y'all and share Spiceworld with you.
Awesome. We appreciate you being here. And of course, Sean Dahlberg.
I wonder if I should get my avatar changed to more gray color now also.
That's totally your call, man.
I'm Sean Dahlberg. I'm the Director of Community here at Spiceworks Ziff Davis. And come December, I will be hitting my 10 years at Spiceworks.
Wow. That's awesome. Congratulations.
Yeah, it's been a, I think everyone here can talk to it. If you look back all the way back then to now, the company's changed a few times. A few. As the community has too.
It absolutely has. Yeah. People come, go, less active, more active, newcomers.
Well, and I was thinking, because I think right before the show, we were talking about the first Spiceworld, and that was 2008. And I think the community was officially launched just a few months before that. It was like early 2008. So, but the tool itself came out a little bit earlier. So back then it was more of a Reddit style feature request kind of system.
I didn't actually join until 2010, 2011, somewhere in there. So I don't know. I wasn't part of it in those days.
Well, back in 2006, 2007, it was, as you say, question and answer to support software. The good old days.
And if memory serves, somebody from Spiceworks snuck the community in, right? They kind of threw that in under the radar.
Yeah, we had a developer named Kevin Shell, and he was a big fan of Reddit, and he liked the thumb up, thumb down system, and wanted to use it more for what you still see as feature requests today. But what my understanding of what started happening is not just using it for feature requests, people and they're just asking other questions like, hey, I'm using a Cisco router and I need help with X. And it just sort of organically started growing. Funny enough, when I was interviewing, and it was just after the 2010 Spiceworld, they were telling me that they were, hoping to hit, I want to say it was like 100,000, 200,000 members at that time. And, that was like the high tier goal. Like it's never going to get bigger than that. And then you look today and it's like, whoa, come a little way since then.
Yeah, I really liked the sessions that Chris Bushover used to do about the technology behind what runs the community engine, the backend servers, and those are really cool.
Yeah.
Back in like 2011 timeframe, 2012.
Yeah. He was also really good whenever we'd have like a big issue, like doing sort of public postmortems in the community about it as well, which went over really, really well. Not the issues themselves, but the postmortems.
Some of those were funny with the tirades he went on.
Yes.
Yes, like the user stories. Can't beat
Or-
those.
Or the better ones were the Knox stories, for anyone who remembers him.
Yep, Knox Lively. I remember him. He was in some of the Spiceworld videos, if memory serves. Well, here's our agenda for tonight. Very rough. Thought we'd start out with some Q&A, just mainly about Spiceworld, because it is coming 27th through 29th to a computer near you. It's free, it's virtual. If you haven't registered, make sure you get registered. And if you have trouble registering, well, we probably have people here who can help you get that fixed. But I'm going to ask a couple questions. Hopefully people from the audience will have some questions to go around. But Dana, can we start with you and maybe just share with us a little bit of your perspective about how the sausage is made when it comes to Spiceworld? What does it really take to organize an event like this?
Yeah. So I mean, really, we had to pivot, as everyone has had to pivot, and go from a very intricate in-person experience to now what I would call an intricate virtual experience. So, while the tasks are somewhat different, the task list is kind of the same. So that's one thing that our team has been working on. And when I say team, we get a lot of help from people all over Spiceworks, but it's myself and Haley who really work on this. And I think for the size of this event and how many people attend, you'll see marketing teams with 3 to 5 to 10 people working on events like this. So we've maintained our scrappiness. And I think that still brings that genuine element to what we're trying to do. We do this out of love, frankly. This is my first baby. I had Spiceworld before I had children. So, but I think, there's a lot of technical stuff that we had to look at. Last year was the first time going virtual for a lot of conferences. The event tech has come a long way, but we've still had to revamp, improve, take all that feedback from last year and try to incorporate some new and exciting things this year to improve that experience. So those are the things that we're looking at as we're building out, the current year's event. So that's something Haley and I have been working hard on. And we hope you see the difference this year. So so that's just kind of like a little overview.
Yeah, very good. Now, in your mind, what was more challenging, being in charge of the in-person or the virtual? I'm really curious to know the answer to that.
In person, there's a lot more, in my opinion, that is kind of in your peripheral. Like you're not your periphery, you're not seeing, you can't be everywhere at one time. So there's a lot of things that can kind of happen without the core team knowing, which I think adds a special element, but that makes it a little bit harder to manage. Whereas virtual, kind of all the work is done leading up to the event, right? So all of the tasks kind of have to be done before the event starts. And an in-person, a lot of the work happens before, but a lot of the work is happening during the days of the event. So that's probably the main difference.
Sean, I think you wanted to say something.
Yeah.
Oh, I was gonna, and it's funny, I get to ask Dana questions too. One of the other fun things is this time last year, we knew we were already doing virtual, but I'm assuming that next day we didn't know if we were doing virtual or in person. And so that also adds some of the challenge to it.
Yeah, thank you for mentioning that. I think I internalize a lot of this stuff. I absorb a lot of this stuff, so I forget what people don't know. But yeah, I mean, we had to take a wait and see approach for our planning. And normally when we're planning Spice World, we are, a year, sometimes more out, already planning logistics, like already figuring out the details. And we had to kind of like wait and see, how are things looking? And this has just kind of changed how we do our planning. It's changed it completely. So yeah.
Do you see potentially maybe always having a virtual option even when we go back to in person, or maybe just being in person exclusive when the time comes?
I mean, I think that that's kind of the trend we're seeing across all events. Maybe not all events, but I know that there's still going to be a group of folks who do not want to meet in person. They're going to want to tap into the virtual content, experience it that way. And I think that's okay. I think that's something we need to keep in our planning. And I also think that there are people who are itching to get in person and want to see their friends and want to see their colleagues. And we want that personal face-to-face. And I think, we're doing everything in our power to move in that direction.
Yeah, and I think the other thing to add to that is, while, I'm one of those who want to see the in-person version also, I think we touch more people virtually right now. I want to say, do we have more countries representing this year already, Dana?
Yes, so we have 142 countries represented in our registration this year. That's huge. And I think last year we were at 139. So we've already exceeded last year, which is great.
Yeah, and like most events, especially when they're free events, a lot of those registrations come very last minute.
Yeah, true. Very true.
Any particular items that you're most excited about for this year that are either improved or very different at the forefront of the excitement funnel?
Yeah, I think so. Personally, I am super excited for our Welcome to Spiceworld session this year. Sean may or may not have a fingerprint on that, but I'm super excited for our Welcome to Spiceworld. So do be sure to catch that session on Monday, the 27th, and that's at 9 a.m. Central. So I think there's some exciting things that everyone can appreciate, or at least those who have been to past Spice Worlds can appreciate in that session. And then as far as the technology is concerned, as far as the platform is concerned, I think we've got a couple of things that are new and interesting this year to take note of. One, we've improved the networking piece. We got a ton of feedback last year that the networking piece just was not good. It wasn't up to snuff. We didn't have the flexibility we needed. And so we've completely changed that platform. And so, I mean, same functionality, but it's just much easier to use. And you can have your username in there, which that was missing last year. And it was just a really difficult thing to accept for our team, that the username wasn't going to be included. So our community usernames can now be included. And so we're excited for that. And then I think the other thing that's interesting is we've included in-booth chat and in-session chat. So we have in-booth chat for the sponsors and Spice Buddies and really anyone who has a booth. So instead of doing it all in those chat channels like we did last year, you can actually go to the location where you want to talk to somebody and you can talk to somebody there. So there's that improvement as well as the sessions. So if you're in a session and you want to say, hi from Toronto, you can do that now. We didn't have that ability last year. So I think those are some of the technical things that I'm excited about this year.
That's really cool. Now, in terms of the sessions, if somebody's using a PowerPoint deck, are those available for offline viewing at any time if someone wants a copy?
So if the presenters have approved for the content to be released, yes, it'll be listed in the resources section under the session player. So you'll see that there if the presenter has made that available. If not, you're welcome to reach out to the presenter, and you can do that through the networking. You just look up that presenter in the networking area and just see if they'd be willing to share that, or they may even share it through their presentation. So yeah, great question.
Yeah, and I think this year we're doing the same as last year. Like when a session is over, it'll be available for not pay-per-view. What's the
on demand?
On demand, that's the word. On demand, shortly right after.
That's right. So when it launches at its published time, it then switches directly to on demand after that. And you can also, in that on demand session, you get to review the Q&A. So if there's any live Q&A or chat Q&A, all of that will be available to you.
All I'm thinking now is anything Dim Forest says will now be there for everyone.
For posterity.
Yeah, moderate what you put in chat, ladies and gentlemen. One of the things you mentioned a second ago was Spice Buddies, and Jimmy T is one who is very intimate with that program. Jimmy, can we break order for a second and you just give the 411 on what that is for people who might not know?
Sure. So the Spice Buddies program came about from the real need for a lot of spice heads that going to the in-person conference is overwhelming. I mean, even my first one, you know, fortunately I knew somebody there, so that helped me a lot. But, you know, for those that don't know anybody beforehand, you know, going in there, there's so many people to talk to. There's so many sessions to visit, a lot of booths to go to. So the Spice Buddies developed from people who've been to Spiceworld numerous times, have that experience, and not necessarily an extroverted personality, but they have an outgoing personality. They're willing to talk to people, are personable. So we're just here to help those who haven't been before, so they're not overwhelmed and get really the most value that they can out of the Spiceworld conference.
And you'll actually, Spice Buddies will have a booth this year as
Mhm.
well, right? I think there was one last year also.
Yep. We've got a booth this year as well as last year. So there'll be some of us in there chatting, and we've got links to the website and Discord and all that. So if you're looking for resources, want to talk to people after the conference, you know, all that stuff will be there to talk to. You know, you can talk to us anytime.
Awesome. Yeah. And you can, of course, follow anybody that's a Spice Buddy in the community, see what they're posting and talking about after the conference. That's really good. Now, are there any swag giveaways that the Spice Buddies are doing this year, or is it just passport to prizes?
No, nothing from Spiceway specifically this year.
Okay. Good stuff. I did read something someone posted about the passport to prizes in the Spiceworld forum last couple of days. Sean and Dana, can either of you comment on that and what that's going to be about this year?
Yeah, I'll take that. So Passport to Prizes operates a lot like, well, a lot similar but different, right? Again, so it's still the passport program, which not all of our sponsors partake in. So I think we have almost all of them. I think there's like 5 that aren't participating in the Passport to Prizes, but it's just like it sounds. So it's a passport, or essentially, we've created a handy guide this year, which we didn't have last year. I think a lot of people were frustrated they weren't able to track how to, you know, who they visited and who they hadn't visited yet. But so you go into those virtual booths of the sponsors, and you will click a button that says Passport to Prizes. And then if you just interact with a piece of content on the sponsor's booth, you're entered into, once you've done that for all the sponsors, you're entered into the Passport to Prizes game. So raffle. So it's just like it was in the past. We do a random raffle of all these wonderful things. So I think there's some drones, there's some laptops being given away, there's, you know, gift cards galore, some really cool other swag items. I saw an incredible Ghostbusters Lego set. I mean, there's just all kinds of really cool things. So be on the lookout for that. And we actually have a tab within the platform where you can learn all about it. So look for that.
And in terms of interacting with the sponsors themselves, I know I can look at demos of products. Is it just me chatting with people who are manning the booth, or can I spin up a video conference with them if I want? How does that work?
You can, all of the above. So you can chat with them directly. You can check out their resources. Some of them have videos, some of them have white papers. And new this year, we have something called sponsor showcases, which just sounds like buzzword bingo to me, but they're basically demos. They're live demos that the sponsors have about 100 spots. So you can join, you can look in their booth to see when they're doing those demos. So if you're really interested in a product that they might be showcasing, you can join. You have to be there kind of early though. Make sure you get one of those 100 spots because I think they're limited to 100 spots. And then you get to participate just like we're doing here. So if you wanted to ask a question, raise your hand, interact with them there, you can.
And is the passport to prizes, is that a must be present to win kind of thing that's going to be given away on the final day like it used to be in person, or how does that work?
No, we're honoring the virtual environment for that. So we're not going to require you to stay on while we do a raffle. No, not this year. And we didn't do that last year either, but we will announce it. We'll announce the winners in the community. And of course, if you're a winner, we'll reach out to you individually and let you know that you won. So yeah, so I think we'll be doing that on the 8th. So that following Friday, we'll have all the passport to prizes drawn and you'll know who the winners are.
Very cool. And I think there are some special activities like live music and mixology classes scattered throughout the conference. Is that right? Did I see that correctly?
Yes, yes. I mean, Austin is the live music capital of the world. So I feel like we have to take advantage of our local artists and support them because they're struggling as well. And so I think this is a great way to get Spiceworld behind some of our amazing local talent. And so we have a session, we have a live music session each day. And then on Monday, I think we have 2. So you get an extra treat there. We have a wellness break if you need a little bit of a Zen moment, need to breathe, stretch a little bit. Not going to do anything crazy, just breathing, stretching. And a mixology session too. So we'll be mixing up some interesting cocktails and a mocktail and from a local bartender who we absolutely love named Jessica.
Very cool. And you mentioned the sessions being available on demand a few minutes ago. If I registered and I miss a day of the show, can I go log back in and watch those within a certain time period of the conference? What's my limit there? And do they get posted on YouTube or something later?
I feel like you know more about Spiceworld than I do, Nick. Like
I'm just asking questions. Like I'm just spitballing what's coming to
These are
top of
great.
mind.
Yeah, so 30 days post event, the sessions will be available for on demand. So 30 days, hopefully you have enough time to kind of cruise around and check out the content that you need. After that, the sessions are pulled down. So we do just make them available during that 30-day window. So that's where you can check everything out. If you get a little too busy, which I understand everyone does from time to time during those 3 days, for sure.
Any take on what sponsors are looking to get out of interacting with people in a virtual environment? Tips for people, best practices on interacting with the sponsors? I'd like to get yours and Sean's perspective, and then maybe Jimmy or another Spice Head's perspective.
I've been talking a lot. Sean, you want to take that one first?
Sure. And it's, it's not really too different than in the in-person one. At the end of the day, it's them learning, teaching you more about what they do and learning more about what you need. It's going to be hopefully, and historically always a little bit more conversational. There's always a part where it's like, hey, I need to get your contact details. Let's get you on my nice mailing list. That always happens. I mean, that's just part of that. That's no different we see in the community. But the ones who are really successful, you see they're more building relationships with the members. So they're, finding more about your network, your infrastructure. What is it you're really looking for? What are the type of users you're supporting? In many ways, it's similar to the conversations we have in the community. You're just doing it, I want to say face to face, but I guess camera to camera instead. So it's the same thing there. The thing I'll say is, realize for some of the people you'll be engaged with, this may be their first virtual event, and it's definitely maybe their first Spice World. And as anyone who's been to a Spice World before, it's a little different than other tech events. So it's learning a little bit of the spice and how to best engage with members and get the most out of it. So be a little understanding in case they may start on the wrong foot.
How about from some Spice Heads on the call? What advice do you have for the sponsors to best interact with you? And what advice do you have for others like you who want to get the most out of interaction with sponsors?
I can start that off. So, being on the IT side, the big thing that I've always enjoyed about Spiceworld is talking to these companies and getting into the weeds of what they actually have to offer and how that helps me in the projects I'm working on. So when you're talking to these companies, just be upfront with them on what you're working on that you're really having trouble with or really want to get some opinions on. And, they should reciprocate that to you and be honest, what they can do, how they can help. And if they can't, maybe direct you in the place that can help you.
Anybody else?
I tend to use it for information gathering. Not everything's directly related to a current project, right? So I try to get at least a 30,000 foot overview of what something does, what the product, company, something does, and it sits in some notes. If something comes up, at least I have something to as a starting point. Sometimes it's a little bit better than a Google search.
Chris actually brings up a good point, because it's the same at Spiceworld as in the community in that regard. As many times when I'm talking to, brand reps, it's sure you maybe having a one-on-one conversation with someone who's in the purchasing cycle. I'll use my buzzwords today, but we have so many people who are reading these conversations. Maybe they're finding it through Google Fu later, or they just happen to recall it. That's why it's really good to give, as detailed information as possible, because many people aren't looking to start that project today. They're thinking 6 months, 12 months out. And the more they know now, the better armed they are when they're saying, hey, I'm making my short list. Oh, I remember when I talked to this vendor and they were not just really helpful, they're really informative. Many times a lot of us like to be treated more as an individual than a number. And so having those kind of relationships early on definitely benefits.
Well, Spiceworks is typically geared towards small, medium business, right? And you're kind of expected to be a subject matter expert. So it comes under the guise of the more you know.
That's true. The other thing when we're talking to new brand reps is we always recommend getting not just someone in sales, but like a sales engineer, your own IT pro, someone who can speak the language, because there's nothing worse than going to these conversations and go, I don't know, let me get back to you. Oh, I don't know, let me get back to you. When you have someone who actually knows their technology, they can have those really in-depth conversations.
Yeah, just like what we tell sponsors that would sponsor a SpiceCorps. Hey, bring your technical people, because we're technical people who want answers to our questions. And you may not be able to answer them all, but hopefully you can answer most. Yeah, great points. Great points. Any other tips, Dana and Sean, on making the most of Spiceworld from your opinion?
It'll sound cheesy, but make some friends. That's the reason a lot of the members I talked to over the years, half the reason they go back to Spiceworld every year isn't just, all the great content and me speaking, obviously. It's, it's all the people they know and get to see each other. Like Ivan, for example, used to live on the other side of the pond. And now he's on this side, but many years he was coming to see, the members he knew from stateside and vice versa. When we go to London, sometimes the US Spice heads would go. It was to see each other again. So take those opportunities and say hi, break out of the shell. I know historically at the physical ones, we would actually make a point to go around. We'd see an IT pro just sitting there by themselves. And I'd wait till they have some food in their mouth. And I'd be like, hi, how you doing?
Yeah, then hopefully they can't run away if they're an introvert, right?
So I'll share, and this is just, I think this is something we're all guilty of, but I think especially when you're dealing with users, or you're dealing with, fires that have to be put out, completely understand that, asking you to sit down in front of a screen and, give your full attention to an event for 3 full days is probably not likely. So I think just being selfish with what time you do have, and do try to take advantage of that time that you can make, if that even is possible, and just setting reminders for yourself. So I think one thing that we changed this year as well is we have an opportunity within each of the sessions for you to set it on your calendar. So it could be your external calendar, not just your scheduled calendar within the platform. So I think if there's some sessions you definitely want to catch, go in, get those on your calendar and really try to make them, because I think it definitely helps to be in it with everybody at the same time, as opposed to going on and watching on demand. Still great and still a great option, but try to make that time for yourself to better yourself and get what you need. So that's what I would say.
And I think I know the answer to this question, but I need to go ahead and ask it in case people haven't been before. At some tech conferences that are virtual, there is an attendee limit for certain sessions, even in the virtual world.
Yeah.
Not the case here, right?
Not the case. No, we can have thousands and thousands of people in a session. So we made sure of that. We want everybody to have access to that content. And also I wanted to mention, you'll have access a day early. So on Sunday, we're actually going to be sending everybody a know before you go email so that you have that link to the platform so you can start checking it out a little bit early. So on Sunday night, you can start, kind of poking around and see what you want to check out the agenda, get those reminders set on your calendar.
Very good stuff. And any top sessions, Sean, Dana, Jimmy, you want to give what your top sessions or recommendations would be?
I mean, there's that guy who worked on, what was it, a Mac or something? I think he's gonna be there. It might be interesting. What's his name? The Wizard?
Steve Jobs?
I'm pretty sure he's not attending.
I think it's Harry Potter.
Oh, the Woz. Yes, Steve Wozniak.
Yeah, that should be a
Obviously
good one.
that should be a really good one. I think, what's the other one called? Hacker Valley?
Yeah, so we've got the Hacker Valley podcast guys who will be on, Chris and Ron. They do a cybersecurity podcast, and they've even had some of our guest speakers on their show. So they've kind of followed Spiceworld and pulled some of our keynote speakers into their podcasts. So they get it. And I think they're going to have a great session for us about how to dig into really complex tech subjects, like subject matter, and learn that, like how to approach it and learn really complex topics as you're continuing education or as you want to better yourself.
And I want to say they came recommended to us from the community, didn't they, Dana?
I think there was a connection, but I asked Heather because she kind of handled that while I was on mat leave, and we were pursuing them last year and we couldn't get them in time. So I think it was a carryover from last year that they may have come out of one of our community posts. Yeah.
Outside of that, I'd say any session I'm not in or I'm not leading. There's a fireside chat where I get to grill Liz, who's our VP of product, and Mark DePalma, who's our new head of engineering. That would be a great one to come to. Any ones that I'm actually on the panel, I would recommend finding a better one because I hate answering questions.
One I'd recommend is there's a Capture the Flag one happening on Monday. And that's Capture the Flag is really good for anyone who wants to get into security in terms of red teaming, which is more active or attacking security. So if you want to get on that side where you're actually trying to break into systems, I definitely recommend the Capture the Flag because a lot of security conferences do that.
That's the one. It's like, I want to say around lunchtime Central Time, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, it's
12:30.
12:30.
Mhm. Yeah, you
Anybody
really get
else?
into breaking systems for that.
Yeah. Any others?
Another one I think is interesting is on Tuesday at 12:15. There's a PowerShell one, automation coding for day-to-day troubleshooting and management tasks. PowerShell is huge right now, and it's just getting bigger. Especially with everything Hyper-V using PowerShell. How you have Azure Cloud doing a lot with PowerShell. So if you want to get into automation, PowerShell is a really good language to learn.
And there's also another PowerShell session, the scripting patterns and scripting patterns and practices, I think it is, by Jeff Hicks. And actually Jeff Hicks is basically one of the trainers that Jeffrey Snover, the creator of PowerShell, recommends. So he's kind of one of his colleagues. And his is on Wednesday, I think. Yeah.
Wednesday at 10:15.
Thank you, Adam.
Welcome.
Yeah, there was a guy, Jason Helmick, who was at Spiceworld a couple of years ago. Maybe it was one of the last ones I went to that was in person, and he had a really good PowerShell session. And he was talking about how he gave someone advice to go deep in PowerShell, and they eventually got a very high-paying job as a developer, and because they listened to his advice. So yeah, it's a differentiator in terms of skills you have. And maybe for you, you want to slide over into an adjacency that's more programming heavy. So this could be the chance to get your foot in the door.
That'd be a good one. Tim is the one doing the first PowerShell run, right? Tim Roberts, yeah. The other one I'll plug, but you may just want to catch the recording because I think it's at the same time as Tim's. That's why I know it's him. Peter Sy is doing the state of IT, I think in that same time slot, which will be a really interesting one because it takes a lot of the data we've collected over the years, over the year, surveys, things like that, and gives a little bit of a, future casting on what next year might look like.
Yeah, Peter's really good at breaking all that data down and making it easy to read and understand.
Yeah, he's also my go-to when I'm writing something. I'm like, does this make sense? And half the time it's like, no, but if you do this, this, and this, it reads better.
Yeah. Yeah, he helped me a lot getting wording for my first few Spiceworld sessions submitted.
Yeah, Peter's a great dude. And he actually wrote a blog, something in the Spiceworld community forum recently talking about the major themes and categories at the conference this year. Definitely check that out. We'll share some links with you toward the end, but check out the Spiceworld forum in the community for posts by Peter, posts by someone, maybe it was Hannah, talking about the passport to prizes.
Haley, I think. Yeah.
Haley,
Uh-huh.
excuse me,
Yep.
sorry.
All good.
Let's see. So I'll give you mine real quick. I think all-time favorite is probably going to be this one here in the middle about career lessons. Those tend to be some of my favorites, just to hear someone tell their story of how they got into IT and all the lessons they learned by breaking and fixing things and working with people. And those are the ones that I really like. And this one on Monday about pen testing cloud infrastructure, that was pretty interesting. Cloud security posture. And then the second hand is no longer second best. This guy, one of the guys who's doing it, did a lot of testing on secondhand equipment and showed that it performs extremely well, even against new equipment. So maybe new is not what you necessarily need. Maybe you just need gently used, like a car. And there are vendors that can provide that kind of gear for you. And I got the PowerShell one, of course. Let's see. There we go. Spiceworld links. There's a place to get the speakers, agenda, sessions. Make sure and register if you haven't. Spiceworld discussion group. There's the passport to prizes. The unofficial Spiceworks Discord. Jimmy, do you want to speak to that real quick?
Sure. So the unofficial Discord was started by the community managers. And then it got handed over to a few of the Spice heads, such as Dim Forrest and Eagle Mitchell. And I'm also one of the admins there, but it's just an expansion of the community itself. Something that's a little more relaxed, I guess you could say. There's a lot more topics, and it's good for getting like real-time discussions happening. Just because the community side, it can get tricky a few times in certain discussions. So it helps just having that, and you can have it talk to people after work as well. So definitely recommend it if you want to just meet with people during the conference. After the conference, it's always there.
Yeah, the Discord's also great just for, one of the challenges with forums is if you're having a long conversation, it's great. It's something you can go back to. You don't have to keep stepping up on, but, say I want to talk to Jimmy really quick. I got quick questions, it's the back and forth happening quickly. Also, I can find out what games they're playing, see if there's anything I can bone them in.
Yeah, definitely a great source to leverage. There's nothing like being able to reach out to somebody and ask a quick question in the community. It's like having a lifeline to 1,000 friends at once. It's a similar thing with other communities I've seen. Very cool. And then of course the SpiceBuddy site. I think I got the address right. Is that correct, Jimmy?
That is correct. So that's the new site. We're working on trying to get the old one to point to it. But yep, just freshly launched this week. So that's why a few of the links haven't been updated yet.
Check it out, and definitely make sure to check out the SpiceBuddies booth. I'm curious, Sean and Dana, if you are looking forward to anything for next year's Spice World. I know you probably have a hard time thinking about that one because this year's is so close, but is there anything that you hope happens for next year that didn't get to happen this year that you can actually say out loud?
I mean, I think, yeah, go ahead, Sean. You kick it off.
I was gonna say, it's probably the hope many of us
Yeah.
have. It's, it's a hybrid event. It's, we have the chance to come together, but for those who don't or can't, they can also still participate in it. So that's the big one for me.
Yeah, I'm with Sean 100%, and just and know that that's important to us. That's part of the weaving of the tapestry of Spice World is the in-person connection. And it's like virtual can accomplish up to so much, and then it can't carry out exactly what in-person does. And so we want that as well. So we are looking at all angles, and that's kind of why our planning, like I said, the wait and see planning has kind of held up what we would normally have ready to roll out at the current Spice World. We'd normally tell you, here are the dates and here's what you can expect. But, we're not in that position this year. But we are going to keep you guys updated in the forum for sure. And as soon as we have like some hard details to share, we will. But obviously hybrid is what we would love to see happen.
Another thing I'll plug here is I know this year's Spice World is about to take place, but keep in mind that community talk you always wanted to do or felt like you might want to do, sharing a cool project that you accomplished at the office or maybe on your own time, that's something you could submit when the call for speakers happens next year. Maybe it's you giving that session at Spice World that really takes you to that next level, gets you a new job. That's something you put on your resume for sure, plus all your community participation. So leverage the community conferences like this whenever you can for career building activities so you can get a raise, promotion, or maybe even go to a new company.
And it's also just good experience to have. Like, talking in front of people is not as easy as Dana makes it look. She makes it look so easy.
You guys, I was like stressing hard about this. So just understand that I am actually a born introvert and I've had to overcome. So
was it because we wouldn't tell you what we were going to ask?
No, this environment is, I feel like it's hard for everyone. I don't know, maybe some people really enjoy it's not for, I like to be behind the scenes. So
I definitely agree. If you have any type of topic or project you're working on, I highly recommend trying to turn that into a presentation at Spice World. It's helped me a lot grow my own career. And the way I see it is everybody has a perspective, even if it's something you've done, other people have done on your team, or even other people in Spiceworks have done, there's a perspective that you bring to it that others can learn from.
100%. And there's a way that you explain it that maybe no one else has that might click for that one person who never got it before. And it's totally worth it for you because you're going to learn it better if you explain it. And then for somebody else, to your point, Jimmy, that you built up.
And can I express, I just want to express a moment of gratitude, and it kind of, it makes sense on this topic of kind of passing information down or doing a session at Spice World. One, we can't do Spice World without all of you who come participate, turn in those sessions that you put yourself on the line to present. Like, that is what makes our agenda great. That's what makes the interactions great. And I would be remiss if I didn't mention that, because yes, I do the back end stuff. Like, I put it all together, but y'all are the ones who bring the content to the forefront. And so I just want to wish you all a happy IT Professionals Day first. And secondly, just thank you for all that you do to make Spice World and continue to make Spice World spicy. Like, I think we've maintained that even with a lot of change. And so I just kudos and thank you.
One other thing I'll throw in, just tailing on to something from earlier, if you don't feel comfortable giving a talk at a stage as big as Spice World, do it at your local SpiceCorps and get whoever the spice leader is to record it, put it on YouTube, and that is referenceable proof of work, proof of experience. Good stuff. Yep. Anybody else have questions for Sean, Dana? Go ahead. Somebody was going to say something.
You're trying to get people to let you record things, are you?
Yeah. That's right. I want to market the talent and in our SpiceCorps because I know it's there. Just have to encourage people to give a talk, Chris. Yeah. Well, we'll talk offline about that one. Any other questions for Sean and Dana? Or questions about Spiceworld in general?
Speaking of Spice Buddies, while someone thinks of a question, I totally forgot about this. So I think some of you at least know who Mark T94. He's a Spice Buddy also, right?
Yes.
So he sent me this. I don't know if how well you can see it. Oh, you probably can't at all. Stupid camera. Let's see if I can change this camera. Disregard the mess.
background.
Disregard the mess. Is that better? If not, I'll post something in the community about it, but it's a t-shirt he made about, it's for the Austin Convention Center, and it's like a 404 error, Spice World not found because it's virtual, which was really cool. But that's just like one of the things I love about the community. Like, you know, we've seen the champion coins over the years and t-shirts, and there's ducks and so many ducks and things like that. Like that's, you know, part of what makes the Spice World and the community special.
Is there a Spiceworld swag store? That leads me to ask this question.
This is a challenging one, and I know most of you are aware of the challenges we've faced with swag. So just a couple, I'm not going to belabor this, but we do have a t-shirt. We want those who want to get a t-shirt to be able to get a t-shirt, but it is for purchase. And the reason why is because there's so much back end stuff that has to be sorted out. And we want to send it to more people this year. So last year we could only send within the US. We knew that that was a big miss. It was a kind of a perfect storm of circumstances, but this year we were able to get ahead of it a little bit. So we are able to ship outside of the US now. But of course there's still different things with customs and different products being produced in certain countries that can't ship to other countries. I mean, there's a lot of back end stuff that I won't go into, but we do have a really cool shirt available. And the plan is, and this is some inside baseball, the plan is that when we're back in person, we're going to bring that swag that we had from last year, and we're going to bring it in for in person and distribute it to all those who didn't get it last year. So just kind of want to throw that out there.
Would that be a separate table, or like what, as the Spice Buddies we've done before, generally at the end of the show, we'd gather up as much swag as we could, put it out on our table, and then people just come and swarm it.
Yeah. So, and feel free to do that. And I will say the sponsors, we're encouraging them to do their own giveaways and manage that on kind of just like everyone manage your giveaways on your own, please, because we know what's involved. And we want you guys to have swag. We know that that's such a big part of Spice World, and we're still trying to recreate how we do that safely and without all these crazy custom things. But, you know, we do have to be mindful of that. But yes, Spice Buddies, you know, we'll make it known when we're back in person. Leave your swag with the Spice Buddies to distribute after the event. And then in your little goodie bags that we always give away for in person, we'll try to make sure that there's some extra goodies from 2020.
And for any Spice leaders that are here now or see the recording later too, that when it goes back in person, you know, we have a program we did last 2 years in person to where any swag that's left will get distributed to all the SpiceCorps leaders that requested it. So keep that in mind for next time too.
Yeah, and while I know this is about Spice World, that's also the thing I'm looking forward to is once the world's a little less chaotic. I know a lot of SpiceCorps have sort of taken a pause or gone on hiatus until things get a little bit more normal. That's why when I saw this one, I was really excited. I'm like, yes, another virtual one at least.
Do you see a hybrid SpiceCorps model moving forward, Sean? Or more focused on in-person in the future, you think?
I'm thinking probably more hybrid. Some of that really just comes down to the Spice leaders and what they want to handle. But even pre-pandemic, we had some who did sort of a hybrid event anyways. In fact, Dallas, I think they used to, if they still didn't, they used to do those as well. And they were really successful because even, going from one side of Dallas to the other, sometimes that's 20 minutes, sometimes that's 2 hours. And it's a little bit easier to quickly go home and jump in versus, driving across town, especially right after work. I heard there's this thing called rush hour traffic that I haven't had to deal with for over a year now.
Yeah, it's not the same walking down the hallway as driving down the freeway, is it?
Well, I mean, I know Dallas is really small, so you probably don't get that much traffic there anyways, but
I mean, I'm in Fort Worth, so forget Dallas.
even smaller, I mean.
Exactly. But
And
yes,
getting to Irving is the pits.
yeah. Yeah, we did have a lot of success of having it right in the middle. It seemed to be the most well attended. That and when we went and shot shotguns, that was pretty fun.
That's right. I remember hearing about that.
It was a good one. It was a good one.
Was you trying to say it was a blast? Sorry.
It
I
was
had
a
to.
blast.
That's bad.
Well, I love it. I love it. Any other questions for Sean or Dana before we get close to wrapping here? I wanted to share a few more links and then we'll probably kill the recording. Okay. Silence is golden. So remember,
Duct tape is gray. Oh, bad shot.
there you go. So Spiceworld is coming. Make sure you go, but it doesn't have to end there. Make sure you're a part of the community. Make sure you're active in the community if at all possible. I wish I was more active in the community these days. But there are other tech conferences this year that I thought may be of interest to people, other chances to learn about new things. The first one, I mean, that one's kind of important to me because I work for VMware. It's actually going to be a really cool conference this year, completely virtual and free, completely overwhelming if you've never done it before, but there will be a Slack to network with other attendees. We have this one probably people don't know about. It's called AmpNavigator. This is run by Don Jones, big guy in the PowerShell community a while back, now works for Pluralsight. This is 100% career focused, $50 for 2 days of content. It looks to be pretty good from what I've seen. That's a pretty cheap entry point. Of course, we have Microsoft Ignite, completely virtual and free. And then AWS reInvent, which is a hybrid model. So you can go to Vegas if you want to pay the $1,800, or you can do the free version. I don't think you get all the sessions that way. You just get certain leadership sessions and keynotes. If you want to do breakouts, I think that's part of the paid pass. But all these are, again, like Chris was mentioning, learning about new things in the sphere of technology that may help you, not necessarily now, but possibly down the road, and broaden that career. So with that said, I think I got everybody's name down for points. That shouldn't be an issue. In the SpiceCorps, we are always looking for future meeting ideas, always looking for volunteers to give a talk. One of the things I thought of was it might be neat to partner with some Spice heads who went to each one of those conferences and give a readout of some of your favorite announcements as our Q4 meeting, which I'm guessing will be virtual. So if you know anybody that's going to attend those, I'm probably going to go to VMworld and would be happy to cover that one. But if somebody wants to partner and give a readout of Spiceworld, reInvent, Ignite, AmpNavigator, any of those, that might be an interesting one. Or I'm open to any other ideas. Oh, hey, Chris just shared another one. North Texas Tech Connect is a valid conference depending on your role. When is that, Chris?
It was supposed to be this month, but that didn't work out. I believe it is end of October.
Okay. In person or virtual?
I'm not 100% sure yet. I just happened to click on a link and it was like, oh, look, they changed the date. The last I knew, they had put it off due to the increase in cases, and they decided not to go virtual. So I'm assuming this may be an in-person event.
Okay. Yeah.
Their website says the 28th of October at the Gaylord.
Yeah. I'm assuming it at least has it in person because the first one is check-in and continental breakfast. So
Yeah, that's hard to get to people where it's hot, bacon and burritos is hot, including coffee. Tough to send over the wire. Good stuff. Well, listen, everybody, I'm going to stop the recording. Thanks for coming. And hopefully you get to take part in all the goodness that is to come for Spiceworld. Thank you to our special guest this evening. We really appreciate you joining. Stopping the recording.